Entrepreneur. At Entrepremommies, we share from experience. Moms talk about things that affect moms in general. The mommy entrepreneurs, we are the moms that handle business, and that means a lot. Remember, Entrepremommies.
Hello and welcome to the Entrepremommies show. I am Tiffy T, Tiffany Tracey.
And I'm Nicole Flamer. How you doing?
Hello, guys. So welcome to what is going to be our last show in 2021. So we have lots of stuff to talk to you guys about. We are going to talk about Travis Scott. We're going to also talk about better.com. But first, I was going to catch up and see, how's your week been, Nikki?
My week. Okay. So my week has been pretty good. I can say officially my home is fully furnished now. So I got all my furniture pretty much. Okay. I'm almost cleaned up everything. I got 2 areas. My office is looking a little better. So that's one area, and the other one is the garage. But the garage might stay like that forever. So
yeah,
but
you just walk through that,
Just walk through that, right? Yeah. So I business wise, I've been exploring and doing research on some new things that I'm thinking about doing. I've been talking to people, trying to get an idea of like how to. In general, because I don't know if you experience this or if people watching experience this, but overall, aside from it, pandemic and people dying and everything, COVID was actually very good for business because I have an online business and it gave me an increase in sales. But it also brought some new challenges with shipping and logistics. And we've talked about this before. So I've been trying to figure out a way either to change my shipping model, change my logistic model, or change my business model. So that's what I've been researching that this week. And then also, I have another podcast that I do, which is like a motivational podcast. So I've been thinking about how to expand that, how to grow that. And then I'm thinking about actually doing a cooking show. Yeah. I'm thinking about doing that. Like very short, segments. So I've been watching other cooking shows. I've been watching things on TikTok and Facebook and YouTube and stuff. And I have a little different spin I want to put on it. So I've been researching that. And so I've been in like learn mode right now because things are changing. And we've talked about this in past shows where you don't want to rely on one stream of income. You always got to be prepared to change. You always have to have a backup plan. And even though, like I said, with COVID, it brought an increase in sales, it also brought, some issues that I really have to pay attention to. And I'm thinking, okay, how much do I want to invest in this or to continue to invest in this business, and how much, or maybe do I just want to shift, So, and I think that's the beauty of the internet, and that's the beauty of working for yourself, is that you can make those decisions and you can time them so that they're not challenging, they're not, hurting your bottom line. Because I don't want to be in a situation where I have to make the decision to pivot or switch models because, something, I don't want to make it out of an emergency situation. I want to see the writing on the wall and, go full steam ahead with a plan, because one of my plans was to do a brick and mortar. And now with COVID, that was pre-COVID. Now with COVID, I'm like, okay, I don't know that a brick and mortar is a good idea.
Right.
So where's the future of my brand going to go if it's not going to go to an in-person type of model? Then I need to expand my internet presence. Do I want to invest in that? Because that's going to be money invested that I don't know if I want to do that yet. So that's what my week was.
Wow. Wow, you
Yeah.
established a lot in a week.
Yes,
So,
yes.
well, yeah, I'm used this week as like my way of figuring out more of my direction for next year. So
Hmm.
I made a decision. I am liquidating the bulk of my inventory. Everything that is
Wow.
liquidations, I am going to be liquidating. I'm going to probably do
Okay.
that at the beginning of the year. Uh, Really just because I found that the one particular niche that I have, which has been like the MLMs and the health and beauty industry,
Hmm.
those are my most active sales.
Wow. Okay.
So, and even during the pandemic, it was it was my most active sales. It when like I can get a shipment on Friday,
Hmm.
upload my quantities and be sold out of everything that I got on Friday by like Monday
Yeah.
morning.
Okay.
So I'm like, is it really worth my time to put towards all the liquidations and stuff? Now my husband's still
Right.
going to be doing liquidations. You know,
Okay.
that's his thing. He loves it.
Hmm.
He, you know, it works for him. But I am moving towards other things. You know,
Yeah.
I'm looking to make some like work on commentary for other podcasts that
Hmm.
are coming out next year. Possibly doing some more co-hosting on other podcasts, and I'm finding out that working in media on doing using this medium, like
Hmm.
YouTube podcasting, is kind of working for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I kind of want to make sure I have enough time so that when I am speaking about a particular topic, I've had it researched, I read about it, and I'm not just talking like someone that doesn't know anything off of a card.
Right.
So, and I really am looking more to take that time that I was going to put towards liquidations, working more on my writing. I have so many notebooks filled with like short
Hmm.
stories or my thoughts on a character that I
Hmm.
haven't taken the time to develop and put together.
Hmm.
My Some of my goals for next year um, are to put those out, whichever way they go
Awesome.
out,
Okay.
whether it's like
Okay.
a short stories of books. Well, I actually have an idea for my short stories. The way that I'm kind of thinking of it, I want to have like 4 books that are just like short stories, but all of those stories interact with each other, but they're
Okay.
from
Okay.
different perspectives from different characters. So
Okay.
you have the main character in one book is probably going to be uh, uh, a character that is maybe spoken about or maybe
Okay.
not really interacted with much in the next book, and so forth.
Okay.
And just I kind of like that. I mean, I kind of like writing around that to look at every possibility of different things, and it gives you gives me for me a place to kind of see where other people are coming from.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes you have a conversation with someone and then you may find out about their background and go, oh, now I get why they think like that. And
Right. Yeah.
that's kind of my thought process with writing and developing different characters and putting together short stories. And it was something I kind of just did like for fun in my
Right.
younger days. I didn't even think about like, oh, this could be something that could be monetized.
Right. Yes.
So my goal is to work on that, give myself, and also really continue with wellness. You know,
Yeah.
I have found for me that giving that at least hour or so time for my meditation workout, that has been the biggest blessing in my life
Okay.
for me, especially this year, because, it's not just the weight loss and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's really just overall wellness and feeling better and
Mm-hmm.
realizing when you see things or you see it, like, it really is something that I notice when I see other people, where if
Okay.
I see them kind of struggling, getting up the stairs, some steps, or they don't like how they look in an outfit. And I remember those feelings.
Yeah.
I remember, those feelings, and I'm like, oh, I don't have those feelings anymore. Now
Right.
my feelings are, I got this one place I need a target and I'll be happy,
Right.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and which is kind of thought helped me think, okay, I need to start working on, like, we're going to start as a family, like a lifestyle brand,
Okay.
and kind of put that on the back burner. Like, I got everything kind of started with it,
Yeah.
but I didn't really fully put it all the way through. So we're going to look on, we're integrating all of that in, sort of where it's not just me. Sometimes it'll
Right.
also be my husband, because
Mm-hmm.
he has his own things that I think he's very knowledgeable, as well as when he starts talking about a subject, boy, does he start
No.
talking about a subject.
Mm-hmm.
He's not, we don't have like the same personality as being so outgoing, which is why
Yeah.
I think we kind of work, because I'm the mouthpiece, so to speak, and he's just in the back. He's fine being in the back, but I
Right.
think he can provide a lot of value to other people for the different things that he's into. And I'm going to try and use that to move him along on that side, to give
Okay.
him a little bit of presence. So we'll
Yeah.
see how that works.
Yeah. That would be interesting. Yeah. I tell you,
Yeah. So
I would love to know about that hydroponic garden he was that is interesting. See, because I'm into gardening.
exactly.
So
And he's
yeah.
done it. This is the second year. He
Mm-hmm.
literally went to the store. He went to the I think it was Lowe's or one of those
Mm-hmm.
home improvement stores, bought piping, and he bought a tank, dug
Mm-hmm.
it into the ground. And that was, honestly, I think that's what really was helpful in my wellness journey, because we're
Yeah.
growing all this lettuce and Swiss chard and all these other greenery. Well, somebody got to eat it,
Right.
and I had to start looking at different ways of how to prepare things,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of funny. It's, boy, does it taste different coming from the garden versus coming from the store sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially arugula. Like,
Yeah.
I'm used to getting arugula like at the store and just like, oh, it has no taste.
Yeah.
Man, when you clip that bad boy right off the vine, boy, is it peppery. You
Yeah.
know, add that in with a little bit of tuna fish.
Mm-hmm.
It gets nice flavor, nice flavor.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to really be looking to add a little bit of that, because I think it's a value,
Mm-hmm.
because you can do things on a smaller scale. You don't have to do it on a large scale. And I don't think he's doing it on a large scale. Um,
Right.
and it's a lot of experimenting of, let's see if this seed works, and, that type of thing. So we're going to look to add a little bit more of that next year, put that out there under
Okay.
our lifestyle brand. And I'm really just looking to make my life simple.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I feel you.
I don't know if it's the age or
Mm-hmm.
the COVID or
Yeah.
what it is. It's just, I think that time of sitting at home really helped with a reflection on, what do I want my legacy to be?
Mm-hmm.
What do I want to leave for my children? You
Right.
know, for years to come, my grandchildren can watch these videos. That's my grandma.
Yeah.
Look at her.
Yeah.
Thanks, because of
Mm-hmm.
her, we have this.
Right.
So I'm more onto building on those type of things. We're probably going to do a major purchase next year, possibly, but we're also looking into investment stuff, and so I'm all in for multiple streams, and it's not
Yeah.
just going to be. Uh, items. It's going to be digital assets, paper assets, real property, things like
Yes.
that.
Mhm.
And I'm very thankful. Like, I was having this conversation with my husband. I don't even know how I got on this, but I'm glad that we are both kind of, and I'm going to use a church term, on one accord.
Right.
Like, we both can kind of see where things can lead up to if we work together on certain things. And
Right.
we're both on board. It's not like I
Yeah.
have to sell it to him or he has to sell it to me. We're
Yeah.
both on board, because a lot of people don't have that.
No, not at all. Yeah.
I feel very blessed and thankful, that we can be both disciplined and say, okay, from all of our businesses, something as simple as we're both going to take $100 from our businesses. We're going to do that as a personal draw for ourselves, and we're going to put that in a savings account. And that's going to be over there. And we've been doing that the whole year. And then, like, you look at that account, you're like, wow, that's something we did together. We accomplished it together, and now we're starting to see the fruits of the labor.
Right.
So, and I think especially for my husband, when he starts to see the fruits of the labor, he's like, all right, I'm on board.
Yeah.
I see it
working. This is
Yeah.
working. Yeah. No,
Exactly,
I hear you.
And, not like, oh, we're trying to boast about all this money. It's not really about that. It's about working together towards a goal, and we were both disciplined enough to do that,
Yeah.
He doesn't have to worry that I'm going to go out and buy new Louis bags and stuff like that.
Right.
I mean, that used to be me, but that's not me anymore anyway. But, he doesn't have to worry about that, go around and go, ooh, that's nice. Now I will go, ooh, that's nice. And go, where can I get it cheaper?
Right.
But,
Right.
I do things like that, but it's nice to know that you have a partner.
Yeah.
On something. And I mean, because for me, this is like the first time it's ever happened to me. Like, like Dan and I have been married for 6 years. Next year will be 6 years.
It's been that long already?
I know, right? Well, that's just marriage, but we've really been together probably about 12 years. So it's we've been together a long time, but it's nice to just have that partnership. I'm very thankful for that. And it's something that I didn't know that I needed, but I'm glad that I had it. So, not to sit here and rant and rave about how great my marriage is, because trust me,
but
perfect.
You know what? It's a blessing, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So it's okay to share and brag about it if you got it. You know what I mean? That's a good thing.
And I think also sometimes, we weren't even going to talk about this, but sometimes your partners can be a detriment to your business.
Oh, goodness gracious.
if you have a partner that doesn't see the vision or doesn't believe in your vision, even if they don't see it, they don't believe it, that could really hurt you. Yeah. And if they're not really able to take a sacrifice at times, sometimes you have to reevaluate, like that one song Kanye has, they wasn't with me shooting at the gym, I remember getting a car my first time, and my mom said, if they didn't walk with you, they don't ride in your car. And I think about that. I'm like, that's right. Why would I drive around all my friends that weren't with me when I didn't have a car? You know what I mean? And so sometimes your relationship can be holding you back, and then here you are by yourself, and you're just zooming on by because you don't have that negative Nancy or negative Larry in your ear talking about, that ain't a good idea. I don't think you should do that.
Right.
Nah. So let's just sit here and Netflix and chill. Don't worry about packaging up any shipments.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Which, if you know how to do it, you can do it at the same time. But you know what I'm saying? Shoot, I did that the other night. I was watching some stuff and doing packages all at the same time. Okay.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's something that, even to reflect on during the end of the year, like, wait a minute, is my partner really a partner?
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's something as simple as, hey, y'all, my man got himself a new business. Let me go share.
Right.
Something as simple
Yeah.
as that,
Mm-hmm.
can bring out, like, I know I forget something Dan was doing, and I shared it, and like someone reached out to me and was like, can your husband work on, back then we weren't married, but they're like, can he work on something at my house?
Yeah.
And it ended up being a job for him, just because I
Oh,
shared
wow.
it and they saw it. And
Yeah.
I can't remember what the heck it was,
Yeah.
because I really don't. In the beginning, when I first got with Dan, I didn't really understand to put to words what he did. You
Right.
know, I didn't really understand all that, but someone that needed what his expertise was saw my post and was like, "Oh, can I link up with your man?" And it got him a job.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow, what happens if you work together as a team? If you don't have
Right.
that teammate,
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes that could keep you from some of your entrepreneurial endeavors and seeing where you could end up
Right.
at, rather than lead down a path of, oh, I guess I can't do that, you
Right.
know you know
Yeah. Well, I remember when I have a nonprofit. When we first started off, we had a pretty hefty board. Probably had about 10 people on the board. And sometimes, with a nonprofit, you have to have a board of directors. And you'd have different, I don't want to say different factions, but you had people who saw the vision, you had people who had self-interest, and then you had people who were just there to help whatever was needed. And I think being able to manage and see and identify that when you're working with other people is important. I mean, from whether it's your husband, whether it's a business partner, whether it's a board of directors, whether it's your employees, I think it's important. It's important to have people. It's important to have people who can see your vision, but it's also important to have people who you can bounce stuff off of too. Because there's been many times. I was actually just talking to my brother last night about my business, what we were talking about earlier about the logistics and the
Mhm.
shipping issues. And, and he gave me a different perspective on how to look at it. And whether or not, because I was like, yeah, I'm weighing what my options are. And he's like, well, sometimes maybe you have to take a loss to go forward. Maybe you need to build your brand, consider your marketing efforts, different things like that. Different things that I haven't really been thinking about because I've been just looking at the bottom line. So,
Mhm.
it's important to have all kinds of people in your corner that can, support you, and also who can also be a sounding board. And even some of those negative Nancy's, I find sometimes it's good. Like, I look at those as a reflection of my doubts and fears. So, when I have somebody that comes in front of me and they're like expressing all the things that I'm afraid of, it kind of lets me know, it's like, oh, okay, so this is what's limiting me from going forward. Because if I go on that route where the negative person is,
Mhm.
then, you know what I mean? That's,
Yeah.
well, then I'm not going to get anything accomplished. So, but if I look at it as a reflection of what I'm afraid of, then I can move past it. So, yeah, I mean, it's good. It's good. So,
That's good that you have like a good sounding board to speak to your
yeah.
brother. Fresh eyes is always great.
Yes.
Having
Yes.
those fresh eyes. Or when I used to work at the bank and we used to work at the teller line, we used had a
Mhm.
process called your second set of eyes.
Yeah.
So that was whenever you had like a transaction of a certain dollar amount, and you had to go to like the head teller or like a more seasoned teller, and
Mhm.
we call that your second set of eyes. And it's always something when you get a second set of eyes, because they see what you didn't see
Mhm.
sometimes.
Yep.
And it can change your whole perspective on a particular situation, where you might be looking at something like your logistics as like, oh, I can't sell anything anymore.
Right.
It's going to be uh it's going to be horrible for shipping, you
Right.
know that whole thing. But then, whereas a fresh pair of eyes could say, well, maybe you can make it at home and then ship from where
Mhm.
you are,
Right.
versus dealing with the logistics of what's going on in China right now.
Right. Yeah.
Those, a fresh, because even though it's not something that you wouldn't think of, it's like you might be thinking, oh, I don't have time for that. I don't want to go into
Mhm.
that. But then if you start thinking about it, you're like, well, well, if I set aside 2 hours every day and I worked on just orders and I worked on just this, I can probably get that done.
Yeah.
And it does
Yep.
change your whole perspective. It's I think for us, like people of color, we're so used to either someone scamming, someone trying to play on our heartstrings sometimes, that when something is really legitimate, we just automatically find what's wrong with it.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think we do that as a people, not for a bad reason. I mean, it's been our experiences. How many times have things that we've done have been exploited for other people, different cultures, and their descendants are still making money off of it.
Right. Yeah.
So it's understandable why we get defensive, because we don't always see good outcomes when it comes to businesses, inventions, things of that nature. So we understand the skepticism. Sometimes you just have to look past that.
Definitely.
So,
yeah.
But it's not where, how can I say, if a person is, being negative, doesn't mean that they don't have a right to be, or that they don't have a historic standing on why, you get it. You can get it like, don't do that. No, because last time I heard so-and-so went down that path and they end up losing all their money, so it's understandable, but sometimes you just have to take that leap.
Yes.
And, I feel like for me, the best lessons that I've learned in business are things that didn't work out.
Yeah.
Things that I was like, oh, I got to figure this out. This ain't working. That taught me more than succeeding.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's, that's just us.
Yeah.
So, wow. We kind of went on a few other tangents that we weren't planning on, but I think I'm sure it's helpful. It's going to be helpful to someone, especially as you reflect towards the end of the year. So,
yeah.
All right. So let's say we're going to move on to, I'm going to call it the way you should not fire somebody.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's been in the news, better.com. So better.com is I'm going to think of them as like a mortgage broker. I don't know if they're a mortgage lender, but I'm going to assume they're more of like a mortgage broker. And supposedly it's supposed to be a smooth process when you go onto their website to try and go through the process of home purchasing or home refinancing.
Okay.
Well, last week, their CEO had a Zoom meeting with, and if I am right, I hope I'm reading this right, because I keep saying it's in disbelief, but maybe I'm wrong. Is it 900 employees that were on this Zoom call? Okay.
That is correct.
First of all, 900, you have to have an enterprise Zoom account to be able to put 900 people on a Zoom call, first of all. And that's not cheap, okay? Because normally anything over 100 becomes an issue for Zoom, okay? So you got to have one of those extra special accounts to throw 900 people on a Zoom call. And then to really say, if you're on this call, I am the bearer of bad news, but you're no longer employed with us. It's like, hold up. Because you would think something with 900 employees would be more of a, we have an announcement. There's something coming down the pipeline for next year. You would think would be the excitement that employees have.
Yeah.
So knowing some information about, they just got some. So that to me would tell me, okay, so they're getting ready to work on some more projects. They're going to discuss some of that stuff with us. Nah, they just came to lay all y'all off. That's what they came to do. They came to lay all of you off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, of course, someone filmed it,
Mm-hmm.
the backlash.
Right.
So
Probably
what are your
one of the
thoughts,
people that
Nikki?
got
I know you
fired,
have
right? So, mm,
So what are your thoughts on Better.com and their handling of letting go their their employees? Oh, I think we're having just a
there we go.
few
Okay.
technical. Oh, there we
Yeah.
go.
Okay.
Are you back? Okay.
I'm
So
back.
I
I'm
was
here.
saying, what are some of your thoughts?
So
Okay.
some of my thoughts were, one thing is like HR nightmare, right? First thing, because how can you mass fire people like in front of each other? Like that's isn't that like a violation of people's privacy for one? So that was one thought when I heard the article. The second thought I had was, you know people get, I mean, if you have to fire 900 people, that must mean that there's something going on in the business, even though it looks like they're going to go public next year. But if you have to fire 900 people, I don't think it's something that you necessarily want to do. I think I think he got caught up in what he had to do, and he didn't make good decisions or a good choice on the way to do it. I think he just kind of wanted to get it over with. So, as opposed to having 900 exit interviews, I think he was like, you know what? I'll just tell them all at once on Zoom. And I think it was probably like a spur of the moment. I don't think he had that person to bounce it off of because somebody in his corner should have said, what was his name? Vishal, I think. Somebody in his
Yeah.
corner should have said, Vishal, no, that's not gonna work. You might want to rethink that decision. Yeah, that's not a good decision. I saw that they haven't made any comment. They have a third party firm to do a leadership and culture assessment, and we talked about that before. I think that's a sham when they do stuff like that. It's like, look, we did something. When they bring in those cultural assessments, there's nothing to call this. What the problem is that was a bad decision, period. And
Exactly.
you can overcome that, but I if I were one of those 900 people, I'd be definitely looking for like a lawsuit just for the fact that I don't know specifically how he did it. I mean, you know how when you're on Zoom, your pictures come up, and especially in a business, when you've been in an office, like a business meeting on Zoom, everybody, you can see who's in there. So if we're all fired together, then I know that you got fired and you know that I got fired. That's a violation of our privacy. So, there might be some backlash there.
To me, I okay, I get it. I know we're in COVID time, so we have hybrid working, we have remote working. I think that would have been something better left to, like, whether it be department heads, to have them say, look, I don't know what's happening, but there is a possibility some people could lose their jobs. Like, you give people a heads up.
Yeah.
Now, you are going to have those that are like, all right, I'm just going to slack off. You're going to have that. You're going to have, and then then that gives people that time. Okay, let me brush up my resume.
Yeah.
Let me get that all together. Like, I think about, in this particular instance, we have a friend that we went to high school with. She was a manager of a bridal shop.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And this is before COVID, so we can't say COVID did this. And she was manager of a bridal shop, and she got a emergency meeting phone call. I want to say it was like in the evening that she had to be part of. And basically it was a phone call saying something to the effect of, we're not sure what the next thing is going to happen, but there's a possibility people could lose their jobs.
Okay.
And then literally 2 days later, I would say they got the message, we're done. Everyone's done.
Wow. Yeah.
Doors are closed. Now, with the business that she was in, she was dealing with brides. So you could imagine.
Oh gosh, women's
Okay. You could
camped
just
out at the
imagine.
store.
You
Yeah.
imagine a bridezilla coming up in
Mhm.
there, hearing all this on the news, talking about wear my dress.
Right.
Okay.
Or where my
So-
money.
Right. And so
I'll take one or
and
the other.
exactly. And they were completely out of the POS system.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't go in there to do any of that at all.
Good Lord.
And
Ugh.
her, along with her employees, along with some family and friends, came to help her. What she did was, because she had her own listing, she knew who her brides were.
Right.
She went, in my opinion, over and beyond. But
Yeah.
considering that the company probably still owe her money
Yeah.
for labor, considering that she wasn't getting paid. She
Right.
went out of her way to contact other bridal shops and try and work out deals for other brides.
Yeah.
Because she didn't have their dresses. So
Yeah.
whatever she had, she was supposed to ship out.
Yeah.
And they got like an influx of them. So they weren't altered.
Wow.
They were just what they received, and people, and then they had their instructions were to put them on a FedEx truck. FedEx came, picked them up, but they had to get them all prepared.
Yeah.
Now, you can imagine how much it costs to ship a wedding gown.
Yeah.
And
it's not cheap at all.
And the process, because you can't just throw that in like a little poly bag,
No.
So it,
No.
so she had to do all
Right.
of that along with, her employees, and she had family and friends come and help her, but no one got paid for that. Places, in my opinion, when a place goes through that type of process where they're like, okay, look, we making changes. When you're dealing, like when I like my little tiny payroll of like one person every now and again, I take that so seriously.
Definitely.
That I am part of that person's life, where the money that I make that goes into their paycheck, if I don't do my part, they won't have a paycheck.
Right.
I take that real serious. And that's just one person.
Right.
I know for me, I've even had times where making payroll or making my car payment.
Right.
And I always chose making payroll.
Right.
Always.
Yeah.
So you have to make, I take that seriously,
Definitely.
So, and I'm talking about, like I said, I had a small payroll. He got over 900 people. Like over 900 families were impacted by your, hey, if you on this call, sorry.
Yeah.
Now I'm not saying he said it like that, but it just isn't the right look. And there were reports that he was on another call with current employees that were not part of that call and were like, oh, the people that were let go, they only work 2-3 hours a day anyway. They didn't work their full time and something like that. It's like, okay, now you're speaking disparaging about all of these people.
Right.
So what does that say about your company if you had 900 employees and they only work 2 hours a day? What does that say about your management? And what does that really say about you if you're saying things like that about people that work for you?
Right.
So, but now supposedly he's taking a step down, or well, I should say a step away, because he ain't leaving. He's just taking a step away. Basically, he'll wait for the coast to clear and come on back.
Until no one's talking about it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
once it leaves the real, he's done. Come right on back.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, I think that some people, that on the last line in the article, it says the company said in May it would go public through a merger with blank check firm Aurora Acquisitions in a deal valued at $7.7 billion. So that's quite the, they're planning on going public. I don't know, I don't know the quality of the employees if they only worked a couple hours a day, but any time, just like you said, you take you take it seriously when you hire somebody. Anytime that somebody is linked to your company, somebody has chosen to put in 1, 2, 3, 8, excuse me, 40 hours, they deserve better than a Zoom firing. They just
Yeah.
do. I mean, even your worst employee deserves better than a Zoom firing, because you got to,
Yeah.
I always think of it, the golden rule: you treat people as you would like to be treated. I would never want to be fired on Zoom. I would be so embarrassed. I've been fired once in my life. It was the most embarrassing thing ever in my life. And I not ever want to repeat it. And I can not imagine. I was in an office with 2 of my managers, and I couldn't imagine being on a call with 899 other people and finding out that I got let go. That'd be extremely embarrassing. So, you know, you got to do better, employees. I mean, these people, we got a whole bunch of new companies starting up and stuff. And, you know, with the housing, I don't want to call it a bubble, but with the housing, the housing market right now is so hot, and they're a mortgage company, and that, you know, they deal with, I went to their website, they deal with mortgage, real estate, title insurance, homeowners insurance. I'm sure their business is really booming right now.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know,
If
I'm sure
it's
there's
not, they're doing something wrong.
right. I'm sure they're doing very well right now, because it's a housing, it's a hot market. So, you know, you got to do better though, just because you know, you got to do better. And it's more than just cultural training. I mean, that's a person who's completely inconsiderate. And you know, and I could give him a pass and be like, maybe he wasn't thinking clearly. But if he was disparaging too, then it's like, okay, dude, you got to do better. So
Yeah, I've never been fired from a job. I've
yeah,
left jobs, and
yeah,
I've kind of did one of those, okay, I want to get out of here before they get the chance to fire me. I've done
yes,
that.
right,
But I have never, now I have fired people. I have
mm-hmm,
said those terms. As of today, your
mm-hmm,
employment with us is terminated.
right,
Please collect your things. I
mm-hmm,
need your access cards and your keys. You know,
right,
obviously that rolls off my tongue real simple. I've done that quite a few times.
right, yeah,
But there's a way that you do it and a way that you don't do it. You know,
mm-hmm,
first of all, it was kind of like the way the video looked. It was just
mm-hmm.
like him sitting like in a chair like this, saying, "Hey guys,"
I know
and
it was really,
it was
really
just very,
shady.
yeah,
Yeah,
very uninformal. It just
mm-hmm,
that's just not the way that you do that. You know,
yeah,
I think about, I had one firing that could have went bad.
mm-hmm,
It was in the call center world, and she knew it was coming. Like, she was
mm-hmm,
getting written up, and I even kind of said to her, like, okay, look, if you don't want to work here, fine, I get it,
mm-hmm,
but at least fake it. Like, I'm one of those. I'm the manager where I'm like, look, I'm going to try and do everything I can to help you stay here, because
mm-hmm,
that's the type of manager I am. But I'm just like,
right,
look, at least fake it. You know, if you
yeah,
need help with something, let someone know. Don't do this no call, no show for 3 days, you know, or I should
mm-hmm,
say 2 days, and then be like, oh, well, I thought, no, you didn't think nothing.
right,
You
right,
just decided not to come in. You
yeah,
know, it's, you know, I've, and, you know, I had one where, you know, I said, all right, I'm going to need security outside the door.
yeah, yeah,
Because this might get a little heated. And I have
mm-hmm,
always followed the rules of, you know, if I can have someone in HR with me.
mm-hmm,
And I find, because I kind of just let them talk,
yeah,
because then HR will go over, you know, you can file for this, you can file for that, you can, you know what I'm
mm-hmm,
saying? And then then I can say, they can go over, we have this write up, we have that write up, and at this point we've exhausted. And then I can say, at this point, your services, your employment is now terminated as of today.
right,
You know, and there's a way that you do it. You don't do it with a smile. Your services are now
mm-hmm,
terminated as of today. No, you don't do that. And he kind of had like a weird smile too, which that could be nervousness because I do that too. But when it's something that's completely serious, I know and I work on my facial expressions make sure it looks serious so that you don't think I'm mocking you or thinking that's funny. You know, I don't think anyone that I've ever let go could say, "Oh, she was laughing." No, because I don't take pride in that. In fact, I would rather not have to do that. You know, I would bend over backwards to not have to because I know what that means. You know, like I've even let people go because of whatever issue and said, I may know someone where if you could be hired through them and maybe this will work out a little bit better. I will recommend you to this person. I've done that. I actually did that twice because it really wasn't, how can I put it? It wasn't a problem with how the person was doing the work. It was the problem with like their scheduling and things like that. And, I knew someone that had different schedules that could probably accommodate. And I could say, look, they can do the work. They just need a special schedule. Can you accommodate that? If you can't, you know, whatever, you know, I tried, you know, how many times can you get fired and actually say, here's another job for you, you know? But it's something that I've tried to do. And I mean, in this economy, as far as in the mortgage industry, people could probably get another job. I'm pretty sure of it, you know, for at least right now, while the market is hot, you know, but that's not a guarantee.
No, I fired one person when I was a restaurant manager, and that was for
just one.
Just one, that
was one in a restaurant. That's pretty good.
Well, because restaurants always need workers, so you really want to avoid firing people that. I mean, that's why I said it was for disrespect, and we ended up hiring her back anyway. But she had an attitude. Something personal was going on with her the day she came into work, and she thought she was going to take it out on me. And I'm a nice person. Like I can stand in the face of fire and like really not be burnt. So, you know, I had to pull her aside. She was just going off yelling at everybody. And it was a situation where her boyfriend worked in a restaurant. Yeah. This was her boyfriend worked there. Her mother worked there. Her brother worked there. Right.
Oh,
and
Lord.
Yes. So she's a little on the spoiled side. So she came in and she was just raving lunatic. She was yelling at her boyfriend. She was yelling at her brother. She was yelling at her mother. And then there was me, and I'm supposed to keep the restaurant together. So I'm like, look, calm down, go out, go smoke, whatever. Because, you know, that's all the people in restaurants.
Everyone got smoke.
So I'm like, dude, get yourself together. And she wouldn't. And so I was just like, you're fired. So she's like, okay, she left. But then her mom, because her mom worked there, she talked to the other manager, and they were like, Nicole, we should bring her back. And I'm just like, oh, and I said, okay, because nobody wants to fire anybody. She apologized to me. I still don't know what happened, like why she had an attitude. I mean, who knows? But so that was
something at home.
It was probably something at home. That was that. And then I had to when I was cleaning, I had a person working for me, and I had to let her go. But it was over the phone because it was she wasn't showing up. So, and, I just had a feeling that she wasn't showing up. So I would go and check her work, and, it hadn't been done. And I was like, okay, I can't trust you if you're not doing the work. It's making me look bad. Right. So I had to let her go. But I don't think she really wanted to work there. Like, I don't think she really wanted to do what she, clean. I think she needed money. You get those people. Yeah. They need money for a little bit. And then once whatever problem they were trying to fix with money is solved, then it's like, okay, well, I'm going back to partying and,
Right.
So, yeah, so that was that situation. But, I've always tried to be respectful. I don't like firing people if I don't have to. I've tried to be respectful. The only time, like I said, I can take a lot. But this, somebody being openly disrespectful in front of other employees, it's like that's just a recipe for them to also be disrespectful with you.
Exactly, because
So if you don't
they'll
put your
say,
foot
"Oh,
down,
did you see what happened? All right,
yeah,
so let me
yeah.
talk to her the same way
Let me
then. Let
talk
me,
to her the same way. Exactly. Let me show
Let me
Nicole
let
what
her
to
know
do.
I ain't coming in next week. What you
Right,
gonna do about it?
exactly.
Nothing."
And yeah. I mean, because it's like I said, in restaurants, you always run in. I mean, as a manager, it's like if your people don't show up, you're behind the grill, you're cooking, you're doing whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So you try to keep people. And it's like it's funny. It's like it's like, what do you need? Oh, you need, okay. Well, it's so, and that's how we were. We were very accommodating, as much as we could be, in order to keep the restaurant running, and also in order to avoid having to serve, cook, clean, do dishes as well. So, but the disrespect, I just couldn't tolerate it. So, but and it was bad. It wasn't just like I'm getting smart with you. It was like, you know, she was cursing and yelling, and it was bad
And was this in
disrespect.
front of customers?
It was right before we opened, and we would come in a couple hours before we opened. So
Right.
we were about to open, and this was just in front of the other staff. And then we had opened, and then it seemed to amp her up a little bit. So we only had a couple customers at the time, and most of this was behind the line and in the back area. So most they couldn't see. They might have been able to hear her though, because she was yelling and cursing. So. But
Oh
it was only a
wow.
handful of people. But yeah,
Oh
yeah,
wow. Mm,
yeah. So,
wow.
yeah.
That's
So, better, gotta do
yeah.
better.
Gotta better. Sure enough. Gotta do
Yeah,
better. Mm,
yeah.
mm, mm. Well, Nikki, nav.com is a great tool that you can use when you are trying to establish your business as a legal entity, as well as your business credit. Now, you may be wondering, why would I need to do any of these things? Well, you want to have a legitimate business. So you want to make sure that you have your business entity set up correctly. You can get
Hmm.
help with that through nav.com, which is all free, by the way. Also, you'll want to establish business credit. Yeah, I know everyone's heard about business credit and how great it is and what you can use it for. You'll need help with getting it established. Better.com. No, nav.com is way better. Is the choice that you want to use to do those things. So if you like to sign up, please click the link in the description box below.
Yeah. And I just wanted to add to about nav.com. It's the end of the year. And a lot of time, we'll probably talk about this when we come back,
Mm-hmm.
New Year's resolutions. January is a good time to start a business. It's a good time to, makes the year cut and dry as far as your accounting and stuff. But, it's a good time to start a business. It's a good time to probably go on Nav and see what your options are, and at least just opening up an account just for the next couple of weeks coming. I mean, if you're like many of us, you're going to be home for a couple of weeks with your kids, because they're going to be home if you have children.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to need something to distract you from them. So maybe you might want to go on nav.com and read up on what you need to do if you're interested in starting a business. And I'm thinking, if you're watching us, you probably have an interest in it somewhat. So, but yeah, it's a good time. It's funny when I look at the dates of when I've started things. A lot of times it's January, February, March.
Yeah, same
Also
here.
tax return time, because then I
Yeah.
can put money on something. So,
Yeah, it's
I'm
like, okay,
usually
or I
running like
do it in
gangbusters.
December so I can be like, oh, I need to funnel that,
Yes, right.
because like
Yeah,
right now
yeah.
I'm like, we are going to be paying out for taxes this year. I don't
Yeah.
expect any refunds at all.
Oh well.
Which
Okay.
I'm like, oh, it means I didn't calculate well in my payments, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
what it's going to be next
Yeah.
next year. We're going to be
Yeah.
paying out. So, which I guess it actually means more when you pay out than when you get a refund, because that means that the government owes you money.
Yeah.
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 Because I don't believe I know a lot of people like getting those big old tax refunds,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like, wait a minute, they owe you $8,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. You know what you're gonna do
Mm-hmm.
with that $8,000? Did
Yeah.
you get interest? Nope.
Nope. Right. Yeah.
No. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but Net.com is actually pretty good, even if with the free account, because it still monitors your credit and you get those
Yes.
little
Yes.
alerts to let you know what's going
Yeah.
on. So that's
Yeah.
nav.com.
Okay.
So we're going to move on to talk about something else that's been in the news, and is Travis Scott. As mostly everyone knows about the Astroworld festival that happened in Texas, where I believe the death toll is now up to 10 people lost their life due to activities that happened there. Some people lost their life there. Some people were on like life support or had critical injuries and they lost their life. Travis Scott is going through a lot because of this. Now, he sat down with Charlemagne the God from the Breakfast Club and did an interview, which honestly I'm quite surprised about. He even said that his people didn't really want him to do it, and I think Charlemagne said it too. I'm thinking he only wanted to do it because he wanted to make sure he got his piece. But I'm sure, as a person who is not a lawyer, but who knows quite a few, and I'm sure they would tell him, be quiet.
Right.
Because there's a lot of lawsuits that have already started, and there's going to be more to come.
Yes, definitely.
And I was watching it, and it was kind of my reaction. I don't know if he takes the responsibility 100%, but I don't feel it is 100% his responsibility, because after looking at it and researching a little bit, yes, it's his face, but it's not solely owned and managed, and the day-to-day is not done by him.
Right.
There's a group there's a company that owns it, and they're supposed to be dealing with security and coordinating with the police and all of those type of things. Where was the breakdown? Because in his interview, he says, "Oh, I was told that after the last guest, it was over." So if he was told that, so that sounds like he was just hired to me.
Right.
Now I know he probably has some type of stake in it or whatever, but if his response is, "Oh, I didn't know this was happening to that extent. Because during his performance, he did let an ambulance, he told everyone, be quiet, let the ambulance come through." And then, he just went right on back doing his show.
Right.
And he was like, "Well, I was just told that after the last guest that the show was over."
Right.
So he's obviously not the one that makes all the decisions. If someone told him, "All right, after this last person performing, the show's done. We're done."
Right.
Oh, and then he wasn't even informed until right before the police had their press conference. So if he just found out, right before the press conference, he definitely isn't in the know, so to speak. Now, Mike, I guess the question is, should he have been? I don't know. I'm sure that will all play out in trial. But I think in his own way, he's trying to right his wrong, because he has offered to pay for funerals for those whose lives have been lost. I believe most families have basically said thanks, but no thanks. I don't know if they said thanks, but I don't know. I will say this. He kind of did harp on something that I was like, okay, I hope someone's listening. He talked about, he wants to know if one of the things that can come out of this is a way to better manage everyone's comings and goings on the ground. And he was like, there's a band that people have to wear that show that they can go get food. There's a band for VIP. He was like, isn't there? He was like, it makes me wonder now if we can look into maybe a technology that we could use that to help with crowd control. And I'm like, okay, I think he's got something there. Whether or not he should be the one to go behind that or fund it, I'm not sure about that. But I'm like, I think he got something there. You could have a band, that has some type of signal like RF signal or something like that. And there could be a person with, multiple screens going, okay, we have too many people congregating in this area.
Mm-hmm.
We need security to go out there and manage. We have too many people congregating in this area. We need security. I mean, they still do that from like an overflow, but
Mm-hmm.
doing it with like a band or something like that, I'd never thought of. And I was like, wow. And I'm like, that actually could sound like a whole nother business,
Right.
something like that. But I kind of think I know why he did the interview, but I don't know if he should have done it.
Okay.
I know why. I get why. I mean, he's human and he has human emotions. So
Mm-hmm.
you understand why he would want to
Mm-hmm.
say something. He don't want to be quiet, which I get that. I don't find fault with it, but I just don't know if this was the right time to do the interview.
Mm-hmm.
Or if, well, he definitely needed to work with someone to help him with media training. That's the first thing. Okay.
Right.
Because those clutch words he used a lot
Mm-hmm.
when he was speaking.
Yes.
Which, I just used myself. However, if I'm in a interview situation of that magnitude where my words are going to be used against me, I'm going to have things that are prepared statements. They're going to be practiced. And then I will practice them to enough so that I can say it in my own way, but get my point across.
Right.
I don't think that's what happened.
Yeah.
I think he was trying to get his mind right and say, look, I care. It's not that I don't care, but I'm being told not to talk, but I need to talk. Y'all need to know I care. I just don't know if this was the right time or if he was completely prepared or if his team prepared him. That's
right. I looked at the majority of the interview. And I mean, I don't know Travis Scott personally, obviously, and I'm just kind of critiquing. I mean, I want to set that up before I say what I'm going to say. But I feel like he wanted us to feel sorry for him, and I get it, and I kind of do feel sorry for him, but not for the reason that I feel like he portrayed in that interview. I feel like he will bounce back from this. And 10 people passed away, and then there was, I think the youngest was like 9. And it's like, okay, if you're going to come out, I mean, I'm glad you offered them money for the funeral, but he really needs to become the victim's advocate. You know what I mean? Instead of being on the side with the event planners and, we did this, we did, covering their behinds, he kind of needs to come off and say, and get on the side of the victims in the sense of, I'm going to do whatever it takes for justice for you, because I mean, he's a performer, just like you said. He's not the one necessarily pulling the strings and stuff, and maybe there was opportunities for him to do something different, but I mean, gosh, I don't know the magnitude of the event, of performing, of what was going on. I don't know many of us who would make the right decisions that would save lives. I mean, hindsight is 2020. We can all go back and look and say he should have did this, this, and this. I mean, but that's not what happened. So the only thing that he can do really right now to remedy the situation is, instead of trying to like pay for people's funeral expenses and trying to come off like he's a victim in this, and because that's what it appears like. It's like, I can't believe this happened to me, and it's like, I'm not really responsible, but I want to look into crowd safety and all this, that, and the other, but it's like, okay, no, let's not even bring up that conversation. Let's bring up the conversation of, what can I do to restore these families to wholeness as much as possible? How can I be on that side of the conversation versus being on the side of, was I really at fault or not? And I feel like that's where everybody is focusing. Like, is he really at fault? Yeah, to some degree he is. To some degree he isn't. I think you got to change the conversation. Even from a marketing perspective, you have to change the conversation, because all these families, they have lawyers, and even people who didn't lose a loved one probably have lawyers. I mean, they said something like $10 billion in lawsuits and damages. And, he's on there because he's a deep pocket. So, he's going to lose money, but he can bounce back. So I think the start of him bouncing back looks like being a little bit more compassionate to what was actual loss. These people are not going to have aside from the people who were traumatized in general, the people who actually lost family members and loved ones, they're never going to get that back for a concert. And then, I mean, there's personal responsibility too. Anytime I go into a crowded place, I have to take my own personal responsibility and say, I could die here. I mean, we all do that when we get in our cars and leave the house. I mean, so there's, there's not, sometimes you can't always be looking for somebody to take responsibility. I mean, some things just happen, but I really didn't appreciate the interview. Just because I felt like he wanted us to feel sorry for him. And, there's a time and place for that. I think, like you said, it might be too early for us to have pity on him for this thing that's happened to him, not of his own doing, so to speak. And I think he shouldn't even be. I think he should have followed the advice and not come out and talk. He should be talking more privately with the families, trying to build more conversations with them, and those people as an advocate, as opposed to somebody who's like, I know you all want to sue me. It's like, I know you all are suing me. And it's an adversarial type thing. And I know legal restrictions, whatever, like there's only so much he can do. But I think it was a waste of time. I mean, to be honest, like, I think it probably did more for Charlemagne than it did for Travis Scott, Well,
so, honestly, if we weren't going to talk about it today, I would never have finished the video. I was completely turned off.
Yes.
I wouldn't even have finished the video. I would have been like, whatever. Because I was completely turned off from it. And gosh, his team should have talked to you. Because it could have been spinned a whole nother way. And I'm trying to look at it as, okay, I don't know. I know a couple Travis Scott songs, but I don't really know him, know who he is.
Right.
Man, like, honestly, if he could walk past me today, I might be like, is that him? Like, I don't, it's, so I'm assuming, because I don't know, I know for him, I know he's from Texas, and that was the big thing of why that was there. I don't know if he grew up from humble beginnings, which is very possible. And maybe wasn't afforded some of the professionalisms that people learn as time goes by. So he's, in my opinion, he's probably relying on his hood mentality of, I gotta speak. They gotta know that I care. I gotta say something. But I don't know if it's just the questions or it was just him talking, not realizing, okay, this is a interview. Because to me, it would seem like the way you would talk to a friend on the phone.
Yeah.
And that really wasn't the way he should have conducted the interview.
No.
You can say, woe is me to a friend on the phone. And your friend have, concern. Because, if that happened to you, I would be like, girl, you okay?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I care about the other lives, but you're my friend. So I'm like, all right, what do you need? Are you okay? Talk. Because I don't want anything bad to happen to you. But if there were family members who lost their family members, due to whatever you were involved in, I wouldn't tell you to go talk to do an interview like that, or to allow our conversation to be public.
Right.
Because from the other, from the other direction, if I've lost a family member and I'm hearing how you're speaking, I'm going to be turned off.
Right.
If anything, I'm going to call the lawyer and say, sue him for more,
Right.
And everyone knows who his girlfriend is, because she's a quote unquote self-made billionaire. Not going there today. And then there was supposed to be like this spread of them two, because she's pregnant, and and there was supposed to be I forget the name of the magazine. That's not even the important thing, but they, instead of the magazine scrapping it, the magazine, I feel, went into got put into a PR mode of talking about how he's not really in a relationship with Kylie. They're just co-parents. They're not really together. And it's like, who told y'all to do that?
Right. Or
they
even
did
like
better scrapping the whole thing, and even submitting, a statement that said, in light of recent events, we will not be featuring Travis Scott and Kylie Jenner in our magazine. Or they could have said nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, unless if there was a preview, because I know sometimes magazines have previews and things like that. They let you know what's coming out. So they could say in like something like that, but then it's like as if, were y'all paid? Did Kris Jenner
are y'all a part of this? Right.
Did she call y'all up and say, look, I don't want my daughter implicated, so y'all just say she ain't with them. You know what I mean?
Oh, like, right, exactly. Yeah.
And I don't know. It's like a whole bunch of PR moves where some are obviously overt, where other ones where, in Travis's case, I don't feel he was prepared for that interview.
Yeah.
Now, looking over footage, she doesn't do interviews often, so.
No, she doesn't. One of the attorneys spoke out about the interview and said that it says, we're taught as kids, when you make a mistake, the best thing you can do is admit it and take responsibility. Travis Scott has not done that, made no effort to. In fact, in 50 some odd minutes, he didn't even say, I'm sorry. Every time he tries to shift blame, every time he makes excuses, he just adds to the pain of the families that have lost loved ones. And that was Houston attorney Tony Busby. They were watching, and maybe they were looking for things like that. And I did, like I said, I felt like he wanted us to feel sorry for him. And I know, I don't know what the legal implications are of him apologizing. Does that mean he takes ownership?
Takes responsibility.
He takes responsibility. So that might be a reason why he didn't say, I'm sorry. But then, like you said, why even do the interview? Like,
I don't think it was the right time to do it.
Maybe it's not the right time for that, because
not the right time to do it.
Yeah.
Even like I think about Alec Baldwin, what he just went through. I'm going to say allegedly accidentally shot that woman on set, with a loaded gun. And, it took a while for his interview to come out, but he was definitely told what to say and not say. It was completely, I'm sorry. This is something that should never have happened. He did, in so many words, take ownership for his part, because, that now this is completely different situations, but there was still loss of life. On a movie set, apparently there is a person that's I guess they call it the armory person. And now I heard this off of another person's podcast who is a comedian, but they've been on different movie sets, and they were talking about how they've been on movie sets or show sets, and there was a gun on set, and they said, even though the gun wasn't in their scene, everyone had to take like a safety training class,
right?
Because there was a gun on set, and there were no bullets,
right?
But because there was a gun on set, they had to go through this, and they're like, I know what I had to go through, And for, a 5-minute spot on a show, imagine what they should have went through for a movie. And
Yes.
From what, I understand, there's, before the gun is handed over, there's like a 2-person system of checking.
Yeah. Okay.
So even though maybe, yes, he should have looked himself, but if you're handed the gun and there's a process, you supposed to trust the process.
Right. Yeah, because that's what they're for. So people don't always have to be remembering the details of something. That's why we have processes. Yeah.
So, but even in all that, I still think he took some responsibility in his interview, even though I'm a little shaky with some of his stuff, is saying he never touched the trigger, that type of thing. Like, okay, it was a revolver, so you got to cock it back and all that. Okay, I'm not gonna go into what I know about guns, but but I'm saying, that particular type of gun is not just one that just, you drop it like a Glock and it could fire. It was, you have to do some things manually for the bullet to come out. So this Travis Scott thing, I just pray for those families, because, I did find out a little bit more about what this was. It's not just a concert. It's like a festival. Okay. And so it's like an all-day thing. And then the concert happens at night. Because at first, people are like, what's a 9-year-old kid doing there? Well, because it was a festival. They had like food trucks, different craft shows, different things happening. So I get it. And then towards the end of the night is the show. The concert, rather. So that wasn't the 100% of everything that was happening that day. It just so happened when the performances happened, those things happened. And those people lost their life. So in my opinion, I know why he wanted to speak. I don't know if Charlemagne was the right person to help him. Now, as you said, I think it helped Charlemagne more than it helped anybody else. Yeah. And the reason why I say that is because the questions were more like a conversation. Yeah. Like you was have with your friend. Whereas Oprah would ask, aren't you to blame?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Or Gail, right?
Right. Ooh, Gail.
Gail, yes. Gail in that R. Kelly interview,
Ooh,
so,
Gail.
She's definitely made a place for herself.
Okay. Yes, she is quite definitely composed. Okay. Yeah. Whereas one of those interviewers would have maybe gotten to more of the meat, where he would have said, "I'm sorry. I didn't go out that day wanting people to lose their life." That simple statement would do much better than, there's a lot of different factors and people involved, and I can't take 100%. No, you don't say that, because that sounds like a legal lawyer answer. Right. You need the PR answer of show real emotion. Yeah. And say, look, I am sorry that people lost their life. I didn't wake up that day saying I want people to die and be trampled at my show. Who would do that? That because we all know what happens when you have an interview. You have a 5-minute clip on social media. That would have been the clip. Yep. That would have been the clip that would have been everywhere. And then it would have been like, oh, okay. It would have softened that blow a little bit. Yeah. That would have been the clip.
My takeaway from watching it too also was, this was definitely for him. Like, I don't feel like I gained any more insight about, like you had mentioned, I'm not that familiar with him anyway, outside of Kylie Jenner and, just knowing he exists. But I definitely felt like I didn't learn anything more that makes him, and I don't want to say makes him important to me, but I didn't learn anything more that made me feel like a kinship, or feel sorry, or feel like I understand where he's coming from. That interview didn't give me that insight. and if anything, it was more like a PR type of move.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, and I also feel like you said, maybe he just wanted to talk and get off of his chest, and that's great. But then, like you said, call a friend and do that, and but putting out that it just opened him up for criticism that I don't think does him any justice, and I don't think it does the families any justice either, because now they're coming out, their lawyers are coming out, and they're just making it's just making it worse for both parties, I think. So I would definitely, I mean, if we were to look at it from a business perspective, with our entrepreneurial endeavors, I mean, we all have to deal with customer service. I mean, God forbid, I would hate for anything that I've sold or done to hurt anybody. That's one of my
Yes.
fears, right? um but you do have to take a level of responsibility. I think outside of, we have business insurance, many of us. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, outside of the monetary part of it, and you want to protect yourself, but be a human too, like a person who's human doesn't always look for, what can I legally say that's not going to get me in trouble, and what can I legally say so people know that I care, right? You know what I mean? Like, a real person, a real human, it's just like when you're a kid and you accidentally push over your friend in the playground. Like, really go down and try to help them get up and see if they're
Mm-hmm.
okay before you be like, it was an accident. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, you
Yeah.
know, and so that's kind of my thing business wise, is that, consider if you've hurt someone, like physically hurt someone, physically cause someone pain, discomfort. And I don't mean like, just whatever, like your product came late
Right.
or it wasn't what you were expecting, but, physically harmed someone, take responsibility for it. It's just,
Yes.
that's the human. Isn't that what you would want somebody to do for you? If you like, I
Exactly.
mean, I'm trying. I don't even know if I've ever been injured by something that wasn't my fault. If I'm thinking about
Oh,
where I could blame
I
somebody
got
else.
I got some topical products that I have purchased that have burnt my face.
Did you? Okay,
Oh
okay,
my gosh. Off of
right,
Instagram.
right. And what's the
Bought
last
it
thing
and
that you wanted to hear? You didn't want to hear like, did you use the product properly? Did you, or you didn't want no victim shaming. You wanted them to
right.
say, "Oh my
It,
gosh, are you okay? Is there
right.
something we could do?" So. Mm.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. So,
Trying some out. Some of them commercials is quite
well, some commercials look
appealing,
very, they're very well produced,
convincing.
and you're like, okay. And I'm not one that just hurry us up and buy. I check to see if
Hmm.
people make comments, and then
Right.
I swear it was like a week after I had, like, because it burnt my face on this side here, and I'm still dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I saw someone else write a comment about their face being burnt. And I'm like, where was this
Wow.
comment when I was looking? You know,
Right? Yeah. Wow.
everyone's talking about
Yeah.
how great the shine is and everything. And
Mhm.
it's funny, I used it one time. Okay. I
Mhm.
followed the directions. It said to use it 3 to 4 times a week. So I was
Right.
like, wow, that's a lot. But
Mhm.
I waited, I think 3 or maybe 4 days. The second time, it burnt me all down to my chin area.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and so it was so sensitive. It was peeling and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, I was
Yeah. Yeah.
hot. Uh,
Yeah.
but I learned my lesson,
Yeah.
but, you know, uh, thankfully, it wasn't something that caused me to go to the hospital or anything like that.
Right.
I didn't lose my
Right.
life, you
Right.
know, but uh, a sincere apology goes a long
Mhm.
way.
It does. It does.
Yeah. So, well, ladies and gents, it has been a very long show. We
Yeah.
have covered quite a few topics. For it being the last show, it's going to be just a little bit longer, last show of
Yeah.
the year. So keep following us on all the social medias. We are Entrepremommies on everything, on
Mhm.
Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Had to remember all of them.
Yeah.
I can be reached on Twitter at Resellqueen. Uh,
And yeah. And I
and
could be reached that at
yeah.
home with Nicole.
So this
So,
has been the last episode of 2021 of Entrepremommies, and we will see you guys next year.
Yeah, see you next year.
Bye.
At Entrepremommies, we share from experience. Moms talk about things